Hi, and welcome to our series entitled A Will Is Not Enough, and I'm now looking at insight number 1. Insight number 1 is all about how we hold our assets these days in different pots of money. So you can see here on the screen my 5 magic circles or 5 pots, and this is by and large the way we here in Australia hold our wealth. So we can hold it in our own name, our individual name, or if we hold a property, we can hold it as tenants in common with somebody else, whether it's our spouse or a friend or a sibling. We can hold money in superannuation, and most of us have superannuation these days. We can hold assets jointly, so you might have cash at bank with your spouse, you hold it in joint names. Or you could hold cash at bank with a friend or with a child or so on. If you hold property, you could hold it as joint tenants as well as tenants in common. You can have insurance. And if you have insurance in super, I've bundled it into the super pot, but you can also hold insurance outside of super. And you can also hold money in trust. The most common trust in Australia, and there are over 600,000 active ones, is a family trust. So these are the various pots of money we hold assets in. Now, take a guess at how many of those pots of money your will automatically controls. Have a think about it. All of these 5 pots, you have a will in place. What is the will going to control? Now, if you said 3 of those pots, you're not right. Some will say, okay, it must be 2, but it isn't. And this is the amazing thing, that it only covers assets in your sole name or property you hold specifically noted as tenants in common. All of the other pots have their own testamentary documents or their own testamentary rules that the will does not control. Let's walk through it because that will come as a shock for some of us. But it's important to know this very key point. If you hold money in superannuation, and trust monies do not fall under your will because they are legally and technically speaking not your money directly, not like assets you hold in your own name. If you don't have the right testamentary documents in place to specify where your superannuation will go on death, then that decision will be made by the trustee of the super fund. Okay, and the trustee of the super fund has the discretion to give it to whoever they think should get it amongst superannuation eligible dependents. If you don't want that to happen, you need to ensure that you have the right testamentary documents in place for this one, and remember that there is a tax on super death benefits going to non-dependents, including adult children and others. Not spouses and minor children are okay, but others could well attract a whopping super death benefits tax. So your estate plan needs to make sure that it's looking at that and avoiding that tax if at all possible. Then you have assets you can hold jointly. Now, if you hold cash at bank jointly with someone else, it is going to go to that joint surviving owner if you pass away. And even if you've said in your will, I want my half of the joint cash to go to the cat's home, it's not going to go there because the rule of joint survivorship is going to trump the will. So don't think you can leave half your house to someone else apart from the joint owner if it's held as joint tenants. You would have to change it to tenants in common here. Okay. Now, so insurance held outside of superannuation normally requires you to nominate a beneficiary. You also have to look at who owns the policy, because if you die and someone else owns your policy, they're going to get it, and it doesn't matter what your will says, it's not going to count. So consider insurance. It is the sleeping tiger. And family trusts, well, nobody actually owns the assets in a family trust. There's only a controller, and that's the trustee. So the way you move wealth in a family trust to the next generation, or to whoever you want it to go to, is to pass control of the trusteeship and the other controlling mechanisms in the trust to the people you want it to get. And that's quite complicated, and I see a lot of estate planning for family trusts done poorly or not at all. So it is another sleeper. Okay, so what have we learnt? Well, we've learned insight number one, and that is that a will does not cover all of the pots that you hold wealth in, and you need a comprehensive estate plan so that all the pots are covered, and they are covered in a strategic and uniform way to get your testamentary wishes done.